Are we getting a brand new Women's World Champion at King and Queen of the Ring? Will Liv Morgan defeat Becky Lynch, or will the man conquer the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour? That's what we're going to discuss at the start of this video. Myself and NXT are in the house. And of course, then after that, we'll be taking all your questions and comments for the next hour or so on this channel. But first off, NXT, welcome back to the channel as always. And how do you see things playing out currently with Liv Morgan and Becky Lynch? A big time match made for King and Queen of the Ring. Could potentially we get a new Women's World Champion?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me back once again, as usual. I feel like part of the furniture now when it comes to being on your show, but it's all good. When it comes to Liv and Becky, do you know what? I think the actual interesting part is that Becky hasn't re-signed a contract yet. And I would love it that they do some kind of Becky hasn't signed a contract kind of CM Punk thing. And is she going to leave with that title and not come back? Or she loses to Liv, and then, do you know what I mean? The rumor mill is that she hasn't re-signed, blah, 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 and all that kind of, just make some intrigue about it and try and make the most out of it, because let's be honest, this tournament is not going well at the minute with the amount of people that have had to pull out of it. So they need to do something to make it intriguing, just like this pay-per-view in general.
I like what you've said already at the start. It's not something I considered really thinking about it, but like you say, Becky Lynch, the contract is a big talking point. It's not just simply the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour, getting ourselves to the match of Rhea Ripley. Becky Lynch is an accomplished women's champion of her own, 7-time women's champion. She's been there and done it all before. She's the one that's been trusted with this position as well when Rhea Ripley was injured to win the championship to begin with. Now, I will give my theory that I've said in previous videos in a couple of moments' time of why I think that was the right move and Liv Morgan losing at that time was the wrong move. I still think Liv Morgan is going to win the championship, whether it's at this show or to end the feud with Becky Lynch. However, you make a great point there, because like I say, Becky Lynch, if she isn't re-signed with the company as of yet. We don't know it anyway officially. I don't know how you feel, but we know Seth has re-signed. I'm assuming she's going to. It's a matter of when, not if, potentially. But like you say, there is something that you can make out of this with the fact that it's not been announced yet.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't like to think she's thinking about retiring. Like, obviously, I know they have a young kid together, but just the fact that Seth's re-signed alone just makes me think that Becky's going to re-sign. Like, I don't see why would Becky want to go wrestle somewhere else, if you know what I mean? If she can get really good money, let's be honest, be booked a hell of a lot better with WWE than what AEW currently does with their women division, because they're probably the only other company that would be able to afford to sign her. So yeah, I think it's just a matter of when. Do you know what I mean? I think that's the most important thing. But like I said, I think they need to make a story out of it. Just drive some intrigue about this pay-per-view, because it's feeling very, very deflated. And we've only been doing, qualifying matches for the last 2 weeks, and it feels like half the entrants have already pulled out.
I mean, the thing is, there has been some injuries, like you say, with the King and Queen of the Ring tournament. For me personally, I've actually quite enjoyed it, despite the fact we've had some replacements going into some of the matches. I don't personally believe that some of those people that have pulled out would have won the King or Queen of the Ring anyway. I know Drew McIntyre, probably the biggest high-profile name that had to pull out, but knowing how his story has been recently, I imagine he would have been cost the position in the end. I think Jericho is more than a qualified replacement for him in that tournament. Obviously, we look on the Bobby Lashley on the SmackDown side as well. Obviously, he's pulled out for that, which is a shame. But again, I don't think it would have made a difference to the results of how things would have played up against Tama Tonga. And again, Zelina Vega, current Queen's Crown Queen of the Ring winner, if you want the first ever, I don't think she would have got past Shayna Baszler. So for me personally, it's not harmed my enjoyment to this point, but I get where you're coming from. Just to take it back on to Becky and to Liv, do you not think that a big talking point would be, for, especially for the Liv Morgan fan base, and we've got a few of them in the chat already, would it not make that big talking point for it to be Liv's moment?
Yeah, but my problem is it's a Saudi show, and for me, for me, it's down to that crowd. And the Saudi shows, they only pop for like certain things. And I think a title change involving Liv and Becky, it's not going to almost deserve the reaction that it's going to get on this show, which is why I think they'll save the title change for maybe later on down the line. I don't know, but I'm not a big fan of these Saudi shows at all, just because they never they just feel they are what they are. They're a money event. You know what I mean? They've paid to have these shows over there. They're not. It's not done there for the sake of being a wrestling show. It's done there because people can throw money at WWE and get them to go there. So yeah, it's not. I'm just kind of rambling now, but you know what I mean. It's like I'm not overly impressed. Like, I can't think of a Saudi show that to this date has impressed me. Do you know what I mean? There's probably been one or two good matches, but if you go back through time of all the shows they've had, what the highlight is probably Titus O'Neil falling over and sliding under the Royal Rumble ramp. Do you know what I mean? And that kind of sums it all up. I mean, we've had more bad than we have good when it comes to these Saudi shows.
Yeah, I would agree. There's been probably more house show feeling to a lot of those shows compared to it, but we have had some big title changes over in Saudi Arabia previously. Obviously, the Fiend winning his first world championship over, well, obviously Bray Wyatt's won the world championship, but obviously the Fiend incarnation won it in Saudi Arabia. Of course, lost it as well to Bill Goldberg, of course, in the following year. So we had some big title changes over there. We have had some good matches as well. I think I remember particularly, I think it was Edge and Seth Rollins, the Hell in a Cell match they had. I think at one point, it was 2021, they did that, was really good. So I mean, there is like you say some good moments, some bright moments, but this certainly is a match that, like you saying, perhaps okay under the show circumstances, but I am looking forward to this. Is the match I'm most looking forward to currently on this show. We've got Cody Rhodes and Logan Paul that's been announced. That could be perhaps propaganda, if you will. We'll definitely want to talk about that later in this video. You mentioned already the King and Queen of the Ring tournament, of course, has had some injuries, but certainly I think could get some worthy winners and perhaps worthy final matches we could get when it comes to that show. But looking at this match there, obviously, I want to go into the comments in a couple of seconds' time, because we've got something probably, I suppose, cue us up perhaps some of our feelings and some of our predictions. I see a couple of names being thrown in that I certainly want to talk about anyway. But for me, I do feel like this one is going to be a big time match. And the things with Liv Morgan is it too soon for her to win this championship with Rhea Ripley perhaps not due back until around SummerSlam time? Or is it a situation where now is the right time? They can book then Liv Morgan to retain the championship over Becky Lynch at a later date, and then perhaps maybe we have a situation where Liv starts building towards it. Or is it better that Liv loses here? The fact is she can't do the job. Maybe she gets help from somebody else. Maybe someone she's been linked with backstage very recently. Maybe that's the way she does it. Or maybe it's Money in the Bank that helps her for a second time round.
I don't want them to waste the Money in the Bank like they have done in previous years. Like, imagine that Carmella's had the best run out of all of them, and every other women's Money in the Bank cash-in has been within the space of, I think, 24 hours. They've all been cashed in. I don't want them to waste that again. Maybe this is the right place to just change that title again. If they can make that Becky contract status a thing, I don't know. But do you know what? I think as well, I'm sort of tarnishing the Saudi shows we've had them in previously, but the fact that Triple H is in charge now and he has the knack for putting on better shows and is more creatively driven with current events. Like you said there a minute ago, Cody versus Logan Paul. How Logan Paul gets these title shots anyway, do you know what I mean, without actually doing anything, is impressive in itself. But do you know what I mean? I'm actually quite looking forward to that, because it's not like it's two bad people within ring skills. They're really good. So I'm excited to see what they can do together. Maybe it is the right time. I don't know. Like you said a minute ago as well, with the possibility that they use this Dominic Mysterio thing as a story beat. Who knows? I would like that to come in later down the line when Rhea comes back. I think it is going to be an interesting one. Like I said, I just hope it's not a letdown like previous years have been. So I'm kind of like reserved about being excited about this show, if you know what I mean.
Fair enough. I can understand that with that point. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to go into the comments and see what everyone's got to say, because that can tee us up to maybe some of the things and some of the thoughts that I've got as well. Some have already gone in there, so it's best to do it with the comments we've already got. So Pierre in-house to start off with says, hey, everyone, hope you're doing well, Pierre. Thank you for checking this out. Eric Douglas saying, this is Liv's moments. And obviously, Eric there firmly in the camp of Liv Morgan getting the job done. But Jon, who's with us, thank you, Jon, for joining, says Becky Lynch will beat Liv Morgan, a king and queen of the ring. This will make Liv Morgan snap, fully turning her heel. I just don't see Becky Lynch losing in her first PLE defense, which is interesting because obviously Becky has been there, done it. We've mentioned the contract as well already there. And the fact is as well, like, someone like Becky Lynch, you wouldn't expect to lose the championship this soon, but that could be the fun part of this. So let's go into the thing that I spoke about before that was said in a previous video, but I'm going to quickly just mention it one more time, is the fact that when Becky won the Battle Royal, everyone was assuming it should have been Liv Morgan. Actually, I think it was the right thing that Liv Morgan didn't win that, because yes, she would have won the title that way, but then people would have been asking, would have been doubting her. And I think it would have put almost a bit of an underdog story with Liv Morgan going forward. With this sort of booking like this here, now Becky Lynch has got the job done. We've seen Liv saying, I don't need to help you, for example, against the likes of Damage Control. She's sort of pulled herself out of the ring. She's been backstage. She's been cocky to Live Valkyria as well. Is a scenario where now Liv Morgan, yes, can she get the job done? But she's doing it in a sort of bad way. If she cheats to get the job done, say, for example, she loses this match here, or she needs to get help for a future match or something like that, it turns the fans against her. But when she gets the job done, she gets the job done as a heel, and she gets it by beating someone she's never beat before in Becky Lynch. I think that gets the job and solidifies her as a true champion, rather than saying, oh, I'm going to throw random names out there. So no disrespect on the performance, but I threw Maxine Dupree over the top rope, and I threw Zoe Stark over the top rope, and now I'm the women's champion. They're not people that are in the championship contention at that point, where Becky Lynch is someone that's been there 7 times before. And that's really going to put Liv Morgan to the next level, when I think she will eventually get the job done, whether it's at this Saudi show or whether it's an upcoming PLE.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about it now. I'm thinking back to Liv's first title run when she cashed in the Money in the Bank briefcase on a injured Ronda Rousey. And I can see what you're saying now, that if you'd have had Liv win that Battle Royale, they almost would have been on par with how she won both her titles. The fact that she won one being an opportunist and cashing in a briefcase on an injured Ronda Rousey, which was a pretty rubbish cash in, to be fair, because don't get me wrong, everyone popped hard because they loved it, but it was kind of like, it's Ronda Rousey. She's supposed to be the baddest woman on the planet. I think even an injured Ronda Rousey could probably beat Liv Morgan, no offense, but do you know what I mean? I'm talking about it from a kind of kayfabe terminology. I think Ronda could beat most people when she's still injured. But I see what you're saying. If they actually build Liv up a bit more, and then when she does win this title, it makes it a bit more like she's earned it, a bit more like it's deserved. Regardless of how they probably do it, the fact that she will, I mean, ideally, I think you've said that, I'd probably like to see her win it clean without any sort of outside interference, just to kind of make this a bigger moment for her than what her original first championship win was. And then with Becky, I mean, look, if Becky was to lose this, Becky's the kind of person that, do you know what? I wouldn't actually mind if she lost her first title defense, because, like you said, Becky's a 7-time champion. It's not like it's going to damage Becky Lynch. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, as long as they book the finish right to the match, or book the match right in general, there's no legitimate reason why Liv couldn't dethrone Becky in this match. If they do it something stupid like a schoolboy roll-up pin, then I'm kind of going to be a bit disheartened, and I'm going to be like, it's just going to seem like a really weak victory. So it is going to be interesting. Like, hopefully they do it right by both Liv and Becky, because again, if you're going to beat Becky in her first title defense, it's got to be booked right.
It has got to be booked right, and I think it can be booked right. And Pierre is saying greatness is coming, and it's coming in 1 week. And this is something that could be where I think Liv will win the championship. Because you said about doing it clean, I think it could be one way that could be better. Dominic Mysterio. If Dominic Mysterio helps Liv Morgan win this championship, like Pierre has said here, we've seen the teasers with these two on Raw these last sort of weeks of social media as well. Could it be a case of Dominic turns and helps Liv do it, that Liv Morgan becomes the step mummy? Because Liv has said she wants to take everything away from Rhea Ripley, obviously in this revenge tour. Obviously she's implied always it's been the championship, but to take Dominik as well, I mean, that's just the cherry on top, isn't it? That's everything there for when Rhea comes back to have an intergender match with Dominic Mysterio. We can see Rhea squash him. That would be a lot of fun for starters. And then Rhea to come and take a title back. I mean, you can actually build Liv Morgan over a case of, I don't know, a good 3 or 4 months at this point with her and Dominik, see how it aligns with the Judgment Day as well. Damian Priest is already sort of on the side of the fringes. Does that start putting him more out of the group as well? The fact that Dominic's trying to bring Liv Morgan and Carlito into the group as well. So there's a lot of variables that I think could make this work, because then it's also Liv Morgan as the champion. It's more gold coming to the Judgment Day. They've also obviously got the tag team titles to go for again. Now it's the Awesome Truth. So there's a lot of variables that could make this work, in my opinion.
I mean, without story, without logic as to why Dominik would turn on Rhea, I'd almost more rather see like a double agent kind of thing. Like, he helps Liv beat Becky because he knows Rhea can beat Liv, whereas there may be some doubt in Rhea dethroning Becky. Do you know what I mean? And like Dom almost plays double agent and he's on Liv's side until Rhea comes back and then goes back to being on Rhea's. Who knows? Like, I don't know, because then again, Rhea's going to come back massively as a face, and Dom is probably never going to lose this persona of a heel character. So it could happen, but it's going to be fun to see, because as I said, it's got to be booked right. If it's not done right, it's going to make it hard to be believable, and I think that's my biggest problem with how it's going at the minute.
Interesting indeed. Well, I'm going to make a prediction now so we can just go into all the questions naturally, because we've been already talking about it for about 15 minutes, believe it or not, this stream. But I think that is going to be the finish when Liv Morgan wins the championship. The way that it could make sense for me is that maybe Liv doesn't get the job done this first time and it rolls over the Clash at the Castle. I think that could be the case of how to do it, and then Liv could win the title there. But of course, however it's done, whenever it's done, I think Dominic Mysterio will be the reason that Liv Morgan eventually gets the job done. I think it just solidifies the heel turn more, because Dominik is getting all the boos. They can help Liv get all the boos as well. She can sort of be, saying, I've taken out everything from Rhea. The revenge tour is complete, sort of thing. Now it's just, she's not going to come back and all the rest of it. And then when Rhea does come back, that's when we can kick that storyline to further gear. We can have Becky Lynch as well, then continue on with Liv Morgan, and then go on to move on to Damage Control, which seems to be in the works as well. But that's my current prediction of it all. It's going to be interesting to see how it will play out. But NXT, if you had to make a prediction right now, just yes or no quickly, do you think Liv Morgan does get it done at King and Queen of the Ring?
I'm going to say no. I think it's the wrong crowd for a Liv win.
Interesting. Let's see how it's going to play out. But maybe they're just as a counter argument, just as a final point on it, a Saudi show as well, may not cheer Liv Morgan, where the fact is that a lot of people, got a lot of Liv Morgan fans, they don't really want to boo her.
Very
could
true.
Be a situation she could be cheered in somewhere else in the United States or in Canada or somewhere like that. So it may work out. It is the right place. But it's interesting how it will play out. It's going to be very fun. Nubico says, how is everyone doing today? We're doing very well, Noob. Thank you for checking us out. Hope you are keeping well. Eric asks, when is Julia meant to debut? Of course, the rumor I've heard going around is NXT Heatwave is meant to be the destination. But currently looking at NXT, I don't see an obvious opponent for Roxanne Perez coming up at the upcoming Battleground pay-per-view, which will be taking place, of course, on June the 9th. But I'm hyped for when Julia does come in. If I had to guess at this moment, because it's like to be like a UFC kind of venue, I wouldn't be surprised if Shayna Baszler is involved with Roxanne Perez. She did name drop Roxanne this past week. So I'm going to say with Julia, I think Heatwave is the place that she'll come in, which will be at the start of July.
Yeah, I'm very surprised they didn't put her in the North American Championship tournament. Do you know what I mean? They've got a load of the main roster guys there, so very surprised that she wasn't involved in that.
It'll be interesting how it'll play out. Eric does suggest maybe TNA could be a destination for Becky Lynch. I honestly don't see her going anywhere than sticking around in WWE at this point. Pierre's prediction is that in the match, Dominik will interfere and does something to Becky to help Liv win the championship from Becky. And then the Raw after the PLE, we have Liv join Judgment Day. Love it indeed, Pierre. We think similar on that one. And that's a new member as well. Leo is in the house. Hope you're doing well, Leo. He's probably been listening to us talk about this one for a little while. So he says, I think Liv does win. They are already setting up things for Becky feuding with Damage Control, so I think it's her time to win, and she can face Lyra at Clash at the Castle, which would be a good way to go, actually. Lyra Valkyria to get a title shot. It is soon, but she's been doing very well in the Queen of the Ring tournament. She's in the semi-finals.
Yeah, I mean, if depending on like, I can't even remember who's in the bracket. I'm honest now, because they've chopped and changed it so much. I mean, if Lyra walks out as Queen of the Ring, then yeah, sure, that could actually be a feasible option for her for Clash at the Castle.
Certainly could indeed. And of course, Asuka did beat Bianca last year in the Saudi show, which actually is very true, Leo, when you made mention to that. So yeah, it could be easy to see Liv win and defeat Becky Lynch here. So that's a great shout there from Leo as well there. PS says, just imagine Liv Morgan as Dom's new mummy, and the jury could be booing the hell out of the crowd. I think the crowd will be booing the hell out of them, to be fair. But yeah, absolutely, it's going to be interesting to see indeed. Temple Plays is in house asking the bestseller, Ilya Dragunov or Nick Nemeth, in your opinion?
I'm going to go with Nick Nemeth. I think old Dolph Ziggler doesn't get as much credit as what he probably should get, and Dragunov's got enough time to work his way up to Nick Nemeth's level. Like Ziggler had a whole career in WWE because of his work rate. So I'm going to say Nick Nemeth.
I completely agree. I think Nick Nemeth as well. I mean, literally, that was his job, was to sell for everybody for all them years. Dragunov does an incredible job, by the way. Fantastic wrestler, but like you say, he's only just reaching that big time now, so there's plenty of time for him to catch up with what Nemeth has done for many, many years. Richard, of course, in the house. Of course, Zoe Stark's going to get involved at Queen of the Ring. Of course, you would. That's Richard's spoiler, aka prediction for you there. Pierce says, I think Becky contract situation, a thing with Becky will disappear for weeks, and we have her protege Lyra Akira tries to take the title from Liv Morgan for Becky. I think it makes perfect logical sense for a storyline, that one.
Yeah, you just got to kind of worry about whether it's too soon for Lyra since she come up to the main roster, but hey, why not? If they want to say keep Becky off TV for a while, makes sense.
Absolutely. Not everyone's a Liv Morgan fan. Temple places I don't really want Liv as world champion. The last run was transitional. WWE booked the same people as champion. It gets boring. I mean, Liv's had one go at it. Becky's had 7. So, I mean, as you say, last time perhaps transitional. I think they just didn't have the right plans in place last time. I think this one would be better this time round. But look, they have a destination with the feud with Rhea Ripley.
I think the roster is much better now than it was when Liv was originally champion because, yeah, I mean, her run was terrible as SmackDown champion. She obviously beat Ronda Rousey, and she had a couple of lackluster title defenses afterwards before she finally lost that championship. So, yeah, hopefully, like I said, I think the roster's a lot better for her, and she'll have a lot more decent run with that title.
Yeah, and Ronda was the wrong feud last time, so which really didn't help it, I think, either. But hopefully this time will be better round. But BS says, do you think personally Liv Morgan as a Judgment Day member can work, or do you think personally it will not work? I think the idea of it is fun. I think that, as you can see with Dominik right now, he's introduced Santos Escobar in the back there. He's had, obviously, Carlito in the back the last couple of weeks now that we've had the draft and Santos can't be over on Raw, to try and bring in Liv Morgan as well. I think Damian Priest is the one that's going to have the problem with it. I don't see the other members having an issue. I think Finn Balor's going to be fine with it because Balor previously, has actually been on a team with Liv Morgan against the Judgment Day a couple of years ago. Funnily enough, of course, AJ Styles was rounding up that lineup. So I think Finn and JD will sort of be in the middle and not so bothered. I think they'll be kind of like, well, that's, Dom's moved on and, it's cool. She could be back here, whatever. But I think Priest is the one that's going to have the real issue with it.
I've already said it. I think the last time we did a live together, I already said that I think JD's Priest's time in the Judgment Day is very much up come Clash at the Castle, and I believe that Drew, I think he's going to replace him as leader. Makes a hell of a lot more sense for me. Then that way you get a babyface Priest, which is where they look like they want to go because he's trying to be that honorable champion, that workhorse champion that will defend his title whenever, wherever, without anyone's help. So I think Drew's time for the numbers game. When it comes to Liv, why not? Why don't they just do Judgment Day Wolfpack? Do you know what I mean? And they just split them up into 2 separate factions, and you get Dom, Carlito, and whoever else as one side of it. Do you know what I mean? Just do it that way. Even like with Liv, it would be interesting to see how they would try and book it if they were going to have both Liv and Rhea in Judgment Day and try to be on the same page for the foreseeable future before inevitably, I presume, Rhea would get kicked out of the Judgment Day at that point and be the baby face and Liv stays on. I don't know, but to see them two coexist, maybe even get a run as tag team champions, it would be a good way to draw out the Judgment Day storyline for a bit longer.
It'll be interesting, wouldn't it, see how it's going to go. I'm fascinated with the Judgment Day. Like, it feels like at the moment it's a revolving door of people that could come in, and it obviously feels inevitable that Priest and Rhea are going to be going out of the group. It just it's how they'll put it together over the next couple of months, and I think it certainly could go wrong for Priest's involvement in the group, especially if that World Heavyweight Championship does go out of his grasp. Obviously, he wanted to do it alone. There's a bit of friction and the backlash. I don't think that story's finished either. I think more of that will come up in the coming weeks with the future defenses he has. And it looks like Drew McIntyre could be the next one, and maybe that could be set for Clash at the Castle.
Look, if he doesn't win at Clash this year, I'm just going to give up with Drew McIntyre altogether. Like, that guy is just never going to get his moment, I don't think.
It's either that or it's the CM Punk match. It's where Punk returns first.
I think Punk's not meant to be back until SummerSlam, so I think that's going to be the SummerSlam match is Punk versus Drew.
That's my understanding as well. So, yeah, I would agree with you on that one. And speaking of SummerSlam weekend, Julia would join NXT after she's finished up starting up a new company that is Stardom's Developmental. After she's done with that, then she could debut potentially around SummerSlam weekend, says Temple. So it'll be interesting when she does debut. My herd of rumblings was Heat Wave, so let's see if that does come to fruition. If not around SummerSlam time, it's perfectly fine as well. I think Roxanne Perez will definitely be champion until that moment. PS says, I think the explanation of Dominik to betray Rhea. I think Dom would explain because he got injured, because her mummy was not there, so he chose a new mummy, Liv Morgan, to protect him. Certainly could work on the storyline basis. Why not?
I don't know. It's a strange one. Like I honestly still think that this Dom Liv thing was just an accident. I just reckon they were both in the same room at the same time and having to walk out, and it kind of may have to force them into a booking angle. That's kind of what I'm worried about. But hey, man, there's still plenty of time to go, so you never know.
We'll have to wait and see. I think there could be more into it. Triple H seem to love those Easter eggs. Tina's time in house. What's up, guys? Hope you well, Tino. Ask if we played the ECW pack in 2K yet. I still have not even played the game, so no is the answer to that one.
I've only just seen the trailer today, so I haven't had a chance yet.
No, absolutely. But Tina, I know you've done a review on it. Let us know what you think. How is the ECW pack in your opinion? It certainly looks like a good lineup there. CM Punk obviously in the game, along with Sandman, Terry Funk, and the Dudley Boys. Certainly would be a pack I would be interested in if and when eventually I do get into the game. PSS, I think Howdy and his White Six will return at King and Queen of the Ring. Who do you think Uncle Howdy and his White Six will target first? Interesting question. In fact, Jonesy asked me this question earlier on today, and I said, I don't actually know. So I'm going to throw it over to NX Steve. Any ideas?
I think that again, it's strange that they're doing this at a King of the Ring show or a Saudi show, because I don't think this is going to get the reaction that the crowd the crowd reaction that it deserves. Really, the only thing I can possibly think of is Logan Paul, maybe Cody Rhodes. It kind of has to be Cody, really, doesn't it? Because Cody's kind of the top guy. I don't know, man. Like, unless this a match that hasn't been made yet, which is the goal. I mean, I don't know. Is Priest fighting at King of the Ring?
Not currently.
That's what I mean. So it might even be the winner of King of the Ring. So who knows? Do you know what I mean? It could be a Jey Uso, for example, or a Gunther. Do you know what I mean? It could be something like that. So no, I have not got a clue.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, for me, if you'd have asked my opinion, I would have probably said, if I had to guess groups, Judgment Day could make sense in one way. Final Testament would have been fun as well. But one thing I will say is that I think that the SmackDown side of things is where I think they're going to land, because I look at that SmackDown roster, I think it's pretty bare in numbers. And I think, a group of 6 going to SmackDown just fills out the numbers a little bit on the SmackDown brand. Raw's got a lot of the factions now, so I actually think it could make a lot of sense for them to be on SmackDown. So I don't know, it's going to be interesting to see. But obviously, when it comes to groups and I say faction warfare, it'd be interesting to see whether they do land and how it will be. But let us know what you all think in the comments. It'd be interesting to know your ideas of it, because as I say, this is one of those ideas for me in WWE which I'm actually a little bit stumped on.
Have you seen the latest teaser or the latest thing where it's got the missing woman article in the newspaper? Have you seen it at all?
I haven't followed any of the QR codes.
Oh, okay. So they released on the latest Clue, there was an article about a woman that was missing, and I, for the life of me, didn't know who the woman was. Turns out, do you remember the skits they used to do with the woman who was doing the therapist that was talking to all the superstars in the room on the long sofa, innit? She done KO, she done it's her apparently, and obviously she interviews the Fiend in one of the therapy sessions because he's sitting on the sofa, and it's her in the article. It's her picture that she's gone missing. So I'm like, dude, this is some deep cuts. Like, where they're pulling this stuff from is just immense, man. But yeah, dude, just amazing stuff.
Yeah, sounds fun. I'm looking forward to them debuting. I'm looking forward to seeing how it's going to be done and where they're going to be brought in, who's going to be part of the group and stuff like that. I know that there's been names that have been linked, but until we see it in front of our eyes, we don't know for certain. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it's all going to be. And like you say, that it does sound like there's some fun stuff there. I've heard that a lot of the stuff is very similar esque with these QR codes to with it when the Fiend was brought back as well. So I'm interested to see what it'll be like. But I've not had time to follow the QR codes to do the research like we did a couple of years ago when the Fiend did come back. So for me, this time I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to enjoy the ride. When it comes along, let it be. And I think it's just fun to be a fan of it sometimes, you know. Tino's Time says that he loves being able to finally play as CM Punk after 10 years. Created superstars are just not the same. And I have to agree with you, Tino. It is fun that Punk is back in the game. I've got to say, it's one of the things that I am intrigued to eventually play the game. We just have to get there first, unfortunately, for me. A lot going on at present. But Kicking It with Leo says, I see Team Liv versus Team Rhea for Survivor Series War Games. I like where your head's at. Liv and Rhea can end their feud in Hell in a Cell match at pay-per-view like the Royal Rumble. I'm not against all of this stuff. I think this sounds pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, again, for me, I think at this minute, I'm really looking for story-driven stuff. Like, it's as much as you can put great wrestling on, it for me needs to be a story. So as long as it's built right, I'm all up for it, man.
Absolutely, indeed. There, I mean, Leo actually thinks this could go all the way to WrestleMania. I actually think Survivor Series is a good way to end it at present, but especially if it starts at SummerSlam. But of course, some SummerSlam feuds do go all the way to WrestleMania, so we'll have to wait and see. You could very well be right. Tina says here, I think it would be weird to have it debut there. Obviously, I think it's referring to the Wyatt Six, but I want to see it sooner rather than later. And I think that could be another thing as well. Like, could there be a situation where this could be waiting too long if they don't debut soon? I mean, I'm kind of okay with it. If you go back to The Fiend, for example, when he first started with the Firefly Funhouses, we got like a tease of what The Fiend would look like, and then we didn't actually see a match until SummerSlam. So, I mean, we had to be very, very patient with The Fiend. But what about this Wyatt Six? What's better?
But if you remember correctly, with the Fiend return and all the follow the White Rabbit stuff, it really did drag on, and it got to the point where it was just like kind of boring. And almost, I know it's not a fair comparison as well, but I'm going to also try and compare it to who the Devil was in AEW, because I mean, that's exactly the same thing. It just got to the point where it dragged on too far and too long, where I wasn't interested anymore, and then the surprise didn't work out being as good as what I think a lot of people wanted it to be. So at this point, we pretty much know who the 6 members are going to be. I think if they drag it out for too long, it'll just kind of get to the point where it'd be like Veer is coming. Do you know what I mean? Every week Veer is coming. It got to the point where like no one was caring, and we was like, is Veer ever going to come? No one knows.
Absolutely. Well, to be fair, he's not going to be. Looks like in the foreseeable future now, after unfortunately being released from the company. But I'll ask a follow-up question just to round off the Wyatt Six, because it seems to obviously been quite a bit of interest from our comments in this video on that subject. But a lot of the PLEs are international up until SummerSlam. Is that something that's a detriment here for that debut then? Because of the fact that obviously if they want to debut this group at a PLE, for example, you look back for when Bray Wyatt returned at Extreme Rules a couple of years ago, was seen as one of the best returns of all time. Is it a detriment to WWE that they are doing so many international B-level PLEs at this moment and nothing's in the States? Or is it better then that perhaps maybe they do debut on a Raw or a SmackDown instead?
Nah, I mean, I think if you look at that France crowd, I think that kind of this is the thing. Is like, if you have the right crowd, if you have a European crowd, a British crowd, Canadian crowd, American crowd, as long as the crowd is right, Puerto Rico, for example, where as long as it is a fan-driven event and not a money-driven event, I think it'll be fine wherever you put it on. But like I said, with these Saudi shows, do you remember when they put the first one on and the guy who paid for it, he wanted like Yokozuna? And Yokozuna would obviously passed away, so they just ended up getting some other Samoan guy that sumo wrestled in, and like almost to pass it off as if it was him. It was like, yeah, it's like I said, if you get the right crowd, it'd be fine. And like I said, all these B shows going into Europe, dude. If you did it at Berlin, that Germany crowd is going to be hot as anything. They're going to go to Scotland and do it at Clash. It's going to be a hot crowd because they're proper wrestling crowds.
Interesting. Yeah, and to be fair, I don't disagree with any of that. So it'll be interesting to see how and when they do come in. Obviously, like I said, the rumored target date is King and Queen of the Ring, but I have my reservations if that will be the case or not. But I suppose time will tell. PS says, I can't wait to have a promo CM Punk and Drew McIntyre face to face. I mean, they haven't been face to face recently. They have done face to face before, but obviously, as of late, Drew's been calling out saying that CM Punk's been ducking him, but Punk's just been a bit unlucky with timing, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing these two pick back up. But, you know, it feels like Drew McIntyre is close to being cleared now. Obviously, he's made his shot for the World Heavyweight title against Damian Priest. Obviously, Punk has, you know, he has been active and a bit physical in places. I don't think he's going to be super far away. Like you say, potentially SummerSlam at the latest. This has been one of the hot rivalries of the year so far.
Yeah, and it's amazing for the fact that obviously, well, at the minute neither of them can wrestle, but like even the little things like when Drew went home the other day and then Punk just turns up 10 seconds behind him, although we know that secretly he's just sitting off screen. It was like, it was comical. And the fact that he comes out to the ring, cuts a great promo. Yeah, like I said, I'm looking forward to it for some of these guys that have had one interaction at Mania. It's building nicely, and it's like, we know obviously why this match has to wait is obviously because Punk has had an operation in January, but like they're doing the right things. They're not oversaturating the storyline. They're just giving it almost the right amount of time on TV each week to just gently build towards it. And obviously there's going to be the reveal point where I imagine Punk's just going to clobber him one day because he's fully healed and he's cleared to fight. And then we may get the same with Drew. When Drew's cleared to fight, he's going to do the exact same thing. And it's just going to build to a boiling point where they finally do this match at SummerSlam.
I'm excited for him, and I think, like you say, it's going to be a good way to do it as well, because obviously Drew's going to be back first, obviously. So it's the moment that Punk is ready to go that they can do this match, and yeah, it's either going to be Glasgow or it's going to be Cleveland, in my opinion. And I think Cleveland is probably looking the more likely at this particular moment. But just a follow-up question on that as well: do we think that this is the current version of Drew McIntyre is the best version of Drew McIntyre in WWE? Obviously, we've had the Scottish Psychopath, we've had the Chosen One, we've had 3MB. We've had the champion in the pandemic, and of course we have the current incarnation. What would you say is the best version of Drew McIntyre in WWE?
I don't think he's had his best version yet. Like, I like Scottish Psychopath version. I liked champion Drew. 3MB was a lot of fun. I'm not probably, do you know, I think for me he's got to lose the kilt. I think if you want me to take him seriously, lose the kilt. Like, yeah, because he just makes the same cheap joke every week where it's like, don't look up my skirt. And it's kind of like, well, we know you're wearing ring attire underneath, so why are you worrying about it for? But I think that there's another version. Like, there is a bigger heel version to come from him that almost, I reckon it probably will surpass the level of Scottish Psychopath. I reckon he's going to get a proper evil and dark side that he can go to that will just make him like one of the biggest deals in the company.
I agree that there's another level he can go to, but I am currently, if we're going on current of what we know to this point, I am going to say I think this might be my favorite version of Drew. I think he's been awesome this year. He's really, I felt like he's just become, I felt he was becoming stale for a good couple of years, and what we're seeing with Drew now, I think he's just, you know, the reins are off. He's able to just express himself and he's just salty every time he's out there. Like, everything he was just saying on Raw was, you know, dig after dig after dig on whoever he could actually get in front of to insult. Jey Uso, CM Punk, the drug addict that he looked like that without taking drugs. Do you know what I mean? It's just like all these sort of insults he threw out was just very well done. So I'm enjoying what we're seeing right now. But let's switch things up in a second. But first, NXT.
I was just going to say, as long as they don't kind of go down the whole, you know what they did with Jeff Hardy and the AA stuff, and as long as it don't go to that kind of route, then yeah, I'm fine with how it's going at the minute. Like I said, it's just gonna get to a building point where I'm just gonna want to actually finally see these two fight.
Absolutely. I think we're getting close to that vision. King Williams says, I wouldn't be surprised if Liv loses and wins the Rumble, gets a rematch, and finally closing the chapter of the story. She's always wants to come close to winning the match. I mean, Liv has always been the runner-up, it seems, with the Rumble in these last couple of years, bless her. But fingers crossed she will actually get a big moment. But I think she's going to be champion before that. Like we say, I think the story with her and Rhea is going to play into the summer. What's going to be interesting is when Liv comes out the other side at the end of this program. program? Is she going to continue in, like we said, potentially on the side of Dominic Mysterio, potentially a Judgment Day? Is she going to be that sort of side moving forward where she's going to have creative for her, or is she someone that's going to fall to the wayside afterwards? I think that's the big question mark currently. I think it's a big key 3 or 4 months on the way now for Liv Morgan in WWE.
Yeah, like, I'm not particularly worried about Liv. Liv always tends to have a great backing with the crowd. I just hope that, like I said, when she, as and when, if and when she gets that title, it doesn't end up kind of like how her last run is. And so that's, I think, the most important thing is just that they don't repeat themselves from 2 years ago. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, indeed. And Temple, not a fan of Liv Morgan, says mid-live. Wants her to lose in Saudi as well. Pierre here saying that I feel that the Undisputed Kingdom does not have the booking it deserves. It's had since Adam Cole can walk again. I don't think we see Adam Cole in AEW in the past weeks. It's been really weird, the Undisputed Kingdom. It's really not worked for me. I feel that, look, there's been a lot of unfortunate, like you mentioned the AEW Devil earlier on. I think it's been very unfortunate with the storyline when you look back at it because of the fact that obviously, you reveal the Devil to be Adam Cole, who's been injured for 3 months at that point. He's still not back in the ring, and it's not 5 months later after that. MJF, of course, has been out since the reveal as well. He's had some surgery and he's had some injuries as well. He's going to be out for a while as well. And this group, in the meantime, has just not been the main focal point because they've not got their main leader leading the way. Wardlow, they put in the world title picture, but then immediately made him lose and destroyed his booking again. So it just feels like the Undisputed Kingdom is just not working. Anyone that's really got the credibility at this moment is really strong with the international title, but I think that's in danger come Double or Nothing.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same as you. Well, like I said minutes ago, the Devil reveal itself was very lackluster and kind of like you kind of almost wished it was someone else because it was like you've brought Adam Cole back to be the Devil, and yeah, MJF's not on TV, Adam Cole's not on TV, so what was the point? It was a very the story's gone dead already, and the fact that they've tried rehashing essentially the Undisputed Era, let's be honest, is what it's trying to be, and the Undisputed Era was just, I think Undisputed Era was just one of them things. It was special in the moment, and it's something that I don't think can be replicated. I mean, no matter how many times you put Adam Cole in a faction of 4, it's just not going to be the same as NXT.
No, I agree with you. And obviously, I mean, Adam Cole did great work in Ring of Honor with the Bullet Club stuff as well. Obviously, he was sort of the leader for a while for the Ring of Honor side of Bullet Club. But I agree with you. Undisputed Era was a different beast, a different being. And I feel that AEW have tried to replicate that twice now, obviously with the Undisputed Elite, and now they've gone with the Undisputed Kingdom. It's funny that Undisputed's always used in it as well. They really want to replicate the era, don't they?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just a stolen gimmick.
It is, and it's just not working out, unfortunately, at this particular time. But I think injury is a big part of it. It would have been much more fascinating if Adam Cole and MJF were still able to go at this particular time. But it is what it is, unfortunately. And hopefully, they can salvage what's gone on with this group. But to this moment, it's not been the case. We got the man, not your average girl channel. Loving the channel name, by the way. If Becky retains at King and Queen of the Ring, here's how I would book the rest of the title reign. Io at Money in the Bank, plus some title matches on Raw, and then Rhea's WrestleMania rematch at SummerSlam. So there's some big matches there in mind that if Becky does retain. Of course, I have said here that I think Liv Morgan is going to win the championship. At this moment, I'm going to say it will be King and Queen of the Ring, but I think there's a possibility it could be delayed another month or so. But should Becky retain here? I mean, obviously, you would imagine the long-term destination would be a Rhea Ripley rematch from WrestleMania, because after all, Rhea was the better one at that time. Becky was the one that was a bit unwell as well, but she did say the better woman won. Io Sky in the meantime would make a lot of sense. You wouldn't argue with this if Becky Lynch was to remain the champion.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's too many variables at the minute, especially with the whole Dominik situation. Like, for me, if you're going to play that storyline out, I wouldn't want the Dominik heel change until the Rhea match. Like, the Dominik change to like, do you know what I mean? You almost want like a mystery figure to help live out, just so that we kind of like a whodunit kind of thing, and then it builds to Rhea coming back. We get the rematch, and then that's when we get the turn by Dom on Rhea. I would prefer it that way, going by this scenario, but there's too many variables. I mean, it's too hard to tell when we're in like, for me personally, I feel like WWE's in a bit of a funk in a minute because we've just had WrestleMania and we're trying to re-establish stories, and like, again, going back to everyone dropping out of King of the Ring, and it's kind of like they're still trying to build stuff up going forward for the next lot of pay-per-views, and it's kind of like we're in the cold phase of stories. You know what I mean? We're waiting for the heat to rise and them to build to these points, and I think that's what I mean. If you do the Dom thing too early, is it gonna be underwhelming? If you do it too late, is it going to be too obvious? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, for me, it's just a funky state at the minute.
It's interesting. I just want to ask you a question myself at the moment, because you mentioned about King of the Ring a few times on the stream. The prestige of the tournament. Do you feel that it feels the importance of what it felt, say, back in the 90s, the noughties of what you're seeing currently? Or is it just too much TV time being devoted to these tournament matches, not enough storytelling being told in WWE? What's your feeling currently right now with the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments?
So, in terms of the replacements, I've got no problems with the replacements. I think what they did was they ultimately booked themselves into a corner probably, and then realized, oh, well, we don't really want that person losing in a qualifying match for King of the Ring, or if they had no real sort of hopes of them actually winning it, they've probably just gone, oh, we'll just swap them out, make it an injury storyline. Sure, no problems, I can deal with that. In terms of there was another key point I wanted to add to it. I think, like I said, I think the as long as the final matches, the actual like finals of the tournament, as long as the matches, I suppose, turn out okay by King of the Ring, it will all work out. Like, I don't know what the deal is, whether it's meant to be. It's Jay and Gunther are both on the Raw side of the show, of the bracket, aren't they?
Yeah.
So yeah. So I imagine that's probably going to be the semi-final match, and then like I would like to have seen that as the finale, if I'm honest. But yeah, that's. I mean, it's almost like this pay-per-view is just almost like a filler for the time being while they try and re-establish next ones. But the other thing, well, I just had the other thing as well. Oh no, I'm doing it to myself. Oh no, what was I talking about? Oh, the matches being on house shows. I've got no problem with that because let's be honest, I've seen Kofi Kingston wrestle Xavier. I've seen Kofi wrestle Rey Mysterio so many times before that just put it on. Look, they're going to tell you who won the match anyway, but yeah, put it on a house show, man. If anything, it makes the house shows more special to go to. But yeah, I don't know. Like I think next year's one will probably be a bit better, especially like I think, well, in the future it'll be better, just depending on how they plan on if they plan on moving Mania. And I think I said before on the last time when we did a show that I think if they put King of the Ring, if Mania ends up moving to April and they need a filler between Chamber and Mania, they could put King of the Ring in there because I think it'd just be a perfect little placeholder for it. So yeah, it's just in a weird funk at the minute. But I said this tournament is about wrestling, so it's almost in the perfect place as it is because you want decent wrestling while they're trying to re-establish storylines and start building you up towards SummerSlam, for example, because that's the next big show, isn't it? So yeah, I'm okay with it. It's just I can't really say I'm disliking it. Like, we're getting great wrestling out of it at the end of the day. So yeah, I think it is what it is.
Yeah, ultimately, I mean, I've actually been okay with it. I've quite enjoyed the tournament so far. I take the injuries and just say, this happens. As I said, I don't think anyone would have won the tournament anyway. But I look at the Raw side. We've teased some big matches. We're teasing the Gunther Dragunov match for later down the line. I think that will be coming at Berlin. I think it's good to put the teasers in early for that one. I like the fact with the story of Gunther and Kofi doing it for Xavier as well this past week on Raw. Jey Uso now has taken Drew's spot. There's something to build for that for something further down the line. Of course, we've seen Jey and Drew numerous times before. On the SmackDown side, Randy and Tama Tonga, they're going to cancel each other out or they're going to meet in the semi-final. It's going to be fascinating to see how that's going to play out. And obviously, LA Knight, Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes was a top draft pick for SmackDown. What a big statement that will make if he makes the final of the SmackDown end. So it's all to play for. And I think if I had to predict right now, I want to see Gunther versus LA Knight in the final, but because that's what I predicted on my earlier video. Just want to be right. But I think that Gunther versus Randy Orton is looking likely like it could be the final right now with the King of the Ring. I think that would be awesome, especially never seen Gunther versus Randy Orton. I think that'd be amazing. For the women's side of things, you've got Jade Cargill in there, Bianca Belair, Tiffany Stratton, Nia Jackson on the SmackDown side is looking very strong with the field this year. And again, as I say, I think Jade Cargill's currently walking away with the Queen of the Ring tournament.
I think the fact that they've got rid of the plastic crowns as well, and they've forked out for some decent looking crowns now, kind of makes it feel a bit special. But I think without anything on the line, like, it's great to say you've won a tournament, but you almost need a prize for them, like a title shot, for example. Do you know what I mean? I think if they used it to guarantee a title shot at SummerSlam, for example, or whatever, it would give it more meaning. But then you'd have to, I suppose, put bigger names in it and make it a bigger deal in qualifying for the tournament. So yeah, it'll be fine. It's just, yeah, it's like I said, it's that funky moment for WWE where they're having to just rebuild stories.
See how it's going to all go. I think we're going to get some stars built from this tournament this year. As I say, if Gunther and Jade Cargill were the ones that walk away with the crowns, I think they will definitely, they've got a bright future ahead. So it all depends how it will be booked, though. But let's go back to the comments anyway. Table Play says Wyatt 6 should be just Bo, Rowan, and Strowman. Anything else wouldn't make sense. The other three are those three guys in different gimmicks. I mean, we've heard names that have been potentially rumored for the group. I mean, for me, I like the idea of 6 people being in the group or 5 people are being in the group, and obviously the Spirit of Bray being the final member. For me, I think that those are fine for me. I understand the idea of no history with the group and stuff like that. However, we don't know what the Bray story was meant to be or what was meant to finish. So maybe there could be something in this of something that's going to be brought back to what we didn't know that we're going to get given through this. So that's why I'm open to all ideas. I want to see all how it's going to play out. Like I said, I'm just being a fan with this one. I'm not digging in too deep, Nick Steve.
Yeah, like hopefully they supersede a roster and they're just able to go as and where they please. I think that would make them a bit better rather than we don't get the Retribution situation before where they're kind of locked to a brand where I think like they're supposed to be almost like a supernatural gimmick. So kind of just elevate them above brands.
That's how it should be. That's how it should be. I still predict SmackDown, but I like your idea better. Nubico says to get the feeling that Io Sky will be a babyface, and I get the feeling whenever Asuka comes back from an injury, I get the feeling that Asuka just might turn on Io Sky at some point. I tell you what, Noob, I think I'm going to agree with that because I think Io is the most popular of that group when you look the way that she wrestles, the way she goes. I think she would work quite well as a babyface, and I wouldn't be against seeing Io and Asuka again at some point down the line. And I think Asuka as a heel, I think at the moment for me is more interesting than her as a face. So yeah, I could see this potentially happening somewhere way down the line. Definitely, probably past Survivor Series time. I could see this potentially being something that could happen.
Yeah, I mean, they need to put, for me, Asuka needs to go back to. They need to just make her more consistent and get wins under her belt and make her heel character something more to be scared of. Because at the minute, like when she came back with the face paint and stuff, it was kind of like, oh, this is great, and it's kind of not been anything since. Like they just really need to rebuild her.
That's what we need to do. Yeah, I think the rebuild job is certainly needed at this point. Pierre's asked the question. It's here. Do we think Cody Rhodes deserves a better challenger than Logan Paul?
No, I think this is actually going to be a really entertaining match. Like I said before, I don't understand where Logan Paul gets these chances. Like, yes, he is the longest reigning current champion, but how that would automatically make you #1 contender for the top title. Do you know what I mean? I think we all kind of know that Logan Paul isn't going to win this. It almost seems like the Saudi shows are his shows now. Do you know what I mean? So there are bigger names out there, but I think that again, without story build, really, you've left it 2 weeks before King and Ring before announcing his next opponent. So I think that the bigger names are just being saved for a later date.
I agree with that, a lot of that. I mean, first off, go back to the last video I did predicting the match card. I said Logan Paul will be the person. I said one of the reasons I thought of it was because they're both actually on the poster. They're right next to each other on the poster. I thought it just kind of made sense. I looked at you've got King and Queen of the Ring. You've got the Becky and Liv match. You had the triple threat match for the IC title already announced. It was like, well, Triple H doesn't book big cards, does he? So it made sense that they put those two together. And I think the thing it could work. Excuse me for a second. It could work. The problem with Logan Paul being the challenger for Cody Rhodes is the fact that Nick Aldis just announced it. If they actually put a bit of story, like you said, into it, I think it could have been better. Because if Logan Paul had come out and said, look, there's this King of the Ring tournament thing, but I don't need the crown. Look, I'm United States champion. Look, we've got the hydration station. We've got Prime in the corner of every show now, Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah.
Every PLE has got Prime in the center of the ring. I pretty much own this company at this point. Like, he could say, look, this is the Logan Paul-esque era right this second. Do you know what? I don't need to wear a crown. The only thing missing is that undisputed WWE championship. Boom. Match is booked. That's all that needed to be done. Instead, now we've got this controversy of these two talking backwards and forwards of, well, will this be for the United States Championship as well? Because Cody says, well, I've not been US champion. I mean, I don't want to see Cody as the double champion at this point, although I'm kind of okay with him winning the US title at some point. I don't think now is the right time for it. I don't think we need to see two belts Cody. I think we just need to see this match and we just need to move on afterwards. I think it should just be strictly for Cody's title and Cody should pick up the W and that should be it.
Unless they're planning on getting rid of the US title and introducing a new mid-card title.
They
That's
could.
the only other thing I can think of. But do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, yeah, it's a bit lackluster. I mean, like I said, this is, again, they're in the wrestling period. They're putting on good wrestling shows. They know Logan Paul can wrestle. I imagine Show Speed. Oh God, I hope he isn't there because he is cringe to watch on TV. He's probably going to have some part to do with it. It's that social media event where it's Logan Paul. He's one of the biggest social media stars in the world. You put him on a main event show on the premium live event that's in Saudi Arabia, then it's just going to do numbers for them on the socials. They're clever. They know what they're doing, but it just is what it is.
Like you say, it's Logan Paul's show when it comes to these Saudi shows of being the big sort of hype name for it because he's done it against Roman before. Last time he won the United States Championship, so he's no stranger to the championship matches on these shows. So it kind of makes sense. Yes, like you said, there's bigger names out there that could have the match with Cody, but like you said, there is other opportunities to do this as well. You've got more PLEs down the line, and obviously Logan Paul. Many people speculate this will be the SummerSlam match. I think it's going to be Cody versus The Rock at SummerSlam, despite reports out there suggesting it's going to be at WrestleMania. I think it'll be SummerSlam. So I think this is the reason why they do that match here.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, at the minute, like we did our Mania predictions about a month or so ago, and in the last month, I think I've seen the main event change about 9 times since then. So who knows what they're planning on doing? Whether they're planning, because I heard they were going to do Cody versus Rock at Mania. So who knows? Because it was going to be Rock was going to put his People's Champions title on the line for it, and I'm like, no one cares about that title. He needs to defend that and at least make that something no one's going to care about. It's like essentially that title is the FTW title of WWE at the minute.
So literally took the words out of my mouth before I said it. Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Speaking of AEW, to ask, I like AEW, but the entire theme of the company's factions are being created and then disbanding in like weeks. Why? Why? Because I don't think there's long-term booking strategies. I think there was at the start of the company. I think that's what was the plan was then. But I feel now there isn't that same long-term booking. I think currently Tony Khan does things a bit differently to what he did at the start. I think I'm going to give Tony Khan credit, but this isn't going to sound like I'm going to give him credit if I'm going to be honest the way I'm going to put this over. But when you start a wrestling company and you think, right, okay, we're going to do this, and this, there were some great stories in those first couple of years because those are the initial stories that you have in mind to put out. And then I think you get to a point where you start to think, right, okay, we're 2-3 years in. I've done all those stories now. What do I do moving forward? And then all of a sudden you start seeing, right, well, this has been reported on Fightful Select. This story's been put out here on PW Inside. Everyone knows what's going to happen. I feel there could be a bit of trust lost with some of the stuff that's going on, especially, I think, since the CM Punk stuff. And I just think that he doesn't have the long-term plans that he did. I think some things that look long-term plans might have fallen into his lap. That's my opinion. I think, for example, Swerve and Hangman is a prime example. There's a third match or a one more match with the fourth time I think they're facing when Hangman returns. There's one more in the tank, but I don't think that's been done by design. I think that's literally come at a they've booked that as they've gone
that's
along.
A fallback plan.
Yeah, but it's almost like the same with Swerve and Keith Lee. You know, we could say it's long-term booking, but it's just been it's in the pocket. It's not really been planned. It could have been done for 2 years. It's not been done. But I feel like with Swerve and Hangman, that will be done. But I think it's a case of like, I don't think when they started booking this last September, that was like, yeah, by the way, when we get to like All In, for example, we could do Swerve versus Hangman as like the main event of that show if Hangman's back in time by that. I don't think that was the plan. I think it's like, we do this works. Okay, we can keep this rolling. Let's do it again. Oh, people are liking Swerve now. People starting to boo Hangman. Let's do the double turn. Let's do it as well. Then let's have the triple threat at Revolution. I think it's just step by step by step. I don't think it's the same as what it was when the company first started in its 2 years. But of course, that's purely opinion based. And Steve, do you agree or do you disagree?
It's just a case of that in the last. I mean, when did the AEW start? 2019. So in the last 5 years. So when that company started, yes, it was very faction based, but over the years, obviously, as people's contracts have come up, they've just kind of chopped and changed and let people go. And then because obviously they allowed so much independent talent to come in, and it was kind of like they were throwing independent talent into factions, and that kind of didn't work out. And then someone would do the wrong thing, or like it's still very much in its infancy, and they're still having to learn a lot by what they do. Like, I mean, if you look at Dark Order, for example, I know obviously Brody Lee passing away was a massive kick in the nuts for their plans and what they probably had planned for that faction, but they didn't do nothing with that faction afterwards. Like, they didn't even get a tag team run. Bearing in mind there was like 7 or 8 of them still left in the faction. They then went on to do the stuff with Hangman, but they never pulled the trigger with them. And then it was then like 6 of them got released or something like that. And it's just the same every time someone, like, I think who was the other one? MJF seems to be in a different faction every week up until he turned face. Like, he was in one faction with I don't even know now. But then the next week he's with Ricky Stark, and the week after that he's with someone else. And there's still so much they have to learn from what they're doing. And like, it's almost like it's just really bad timing all the time, because like I said, they'll have something hot and they never pull the trigger on it. Well, they do 2 things. They either pull the trigger on it and do what the crowd wants, but then it's kind of like they put themselves in a corner where they're like, well, what do we do now? Or they don't do what the crowd wants, and then by the time they actually do it, the crowd just don't care anymore. And it's like they can't find that winning mixture at the minute when it comes to anything. And saying like with the factions is always a great thing just because it gets people on TV. But like, everyone seems to be part of a different faction every 5 minutes. Like, what's happened to the United Empire now that Will Smith is part of AEW? Is he not part of the United Empire anymore? Yet the fact that it's his faction that he put together in New Japan, and yeah, it's just like, so they've still got so much to learn. And it doesn't help that, I suppose, like, yeah, I think the mentality they had when the company started off, where it's like, oh, if you want to come in and do this, yeah, you can do this. And it kind of hasn't worked out for anyone's interest. And like you were saying about Hangman and Swerve, that rivalry almost seems like I said, it seems like a fallback plan. Like, everyone just, they do a match, and then it gets to the point where one of them is supposed to fight someone else, but their original opponent is injured, so they go back to Swerve Hangman because it's just something they can fall back on. And like I said, like, if you got to All In this year, and I imagine the plan is supposed to be like probably Ospreay versus Swerve in the main event for the AEW Championship. If by God something happens to Ospreay between now and All In, Hangman's probably going to take his place, and that'll be the main event. And do you know what I mean? It's like they don't seem to have contingency plans in place for when something goes wrong, and they just can't get the balance right of what they want to do. And then, like you said, with the Punk stuff, I don't know. Like I said, sometimes it's just stupidity, and putting that footage up on TV is a cheap ploy to get numbers to view the product, but then they shoot themselves in the foot because they didn't realize the backlash they were going to get from it. And it's like no one's thinking 5 steps ahead. They're only thinking 1 step ahead, and that's where they're burning themselves.
Yeah, I mean, the fair is there's definitely some burning going on there. I think, actually, as I said though back then, I think the footage, I definitely think it's the wrong thing to play it, but actually I don't think it was as much for CM Punk as it was for Jack Perry. Obviously, I think it was the he's coming back kind of vibe. That was the key moment of like, right, okay, we're getting this sabotage Jack Perry, and obviously he's still part of now part of the elite. He's got the heat since coming back. It's something they've probably done. Excuse me, they've actually booked quite well, actually, I would say, is Jack Perry in the last little bit. I'm intrigued with the EVP storyline they've got going on at the minute. It's just the fact that Anarchy in the Arena, I'm not so sure about the Team AEW stuff going on. I think Tony Khan could be seems all too well to be happy to be in Jacksonville away for everything going on at the minute. You don't really see, he was all smiley when we saw him in his neck brace and stuff. So, but I think we could probably talk about this. This question is such a loaded one. We could talk about this for about an hour on its own.
I'll ask you this question because I saw this clip the other day and I thought it was quite interesting. And it was like I don't know if you saw it, Bully Ray talking about Orange Cassidy no selling a pile driver. So basically, he said that you see someone, he's in a match with someone. Cassidy has a pile driver done to him, and within 10 seconds, he's back up again. And he's just not sold the move at all. And it's like, how is a company like that supposed to build stars when you're no selling the business? And it's kind of like, you sit and think to yourself, it's like, we had this debate literally on the retro review that we just did. Like, there was a match that you loved of Scotty 2 Hotty against someone, wasn't it? And I turned around and went that Malenko spent like 20 minutes working on his leg, and Scotty 2 Hotty's done no selling. And it's like, you've just made Malenko look like he's done absolutely nothing to you. And it's almost like it's bad habits that are still being repeated 30 years later. Do you know what I mean?
I would agree. Yeah, Orange Cassidy did not sell a pile driver I believe it was on the steps. Someone correct me if I'm wrong.
On the steps, yeah.
and he was carried out by Don Callis, and he sort of was able to walk on his own accord. Yeah, it wasn't a great moment, to be fair. It did undermine all the stuff that Trent had done about 2 seconds earlier. So yeah, I hope they finish that feud off at Double or Nothing as well. I'm ready to move on because I'll give a quick prediction on that one, though. I think Don Callis has got no intention with Orange Cassidy. I think it's Trent that's joining that group, but I think it's probably a bit obvious that, to be fair, for everybody. But that's what I expect will probably go down. But we'll move on anyway because we've got loads of questions that have come in. Want to make sure we get everybody's question on before we wrap things up today. We're probably going for about another 10 or 12 minutes or so, and then we'll start wrapping up today. But this will be a fun one to dive into. What is the worst faction ever? Dungeon of Doom in WCW, Retribution, or the Undisputed Kingdom? I think we've got a way to go for Undisputed Kingdom to be in that one there.
You have to remind me what Dungeon of Doom is because I can't say I remember it.
So WCW had Kevin Sullivan's group, which had the likes of Earthquakers. I believe it was Shark. You had Kamala. You had Brutus Beefcake as the Zodiac. Basically, it was like ahead of its time, like
mid-card jobbers for life.
It was bad. I think it's the best way to put it. It was really, and for me, I would go with the Dungeon of the Doom just because of the fact it was batshit crazy. But
for me, because I don't really know. I can't say I know Dungeon of the Doom too much, so I'd have to go Retribution. The fact that the anti-establishment group have signed contracts with WWE and now locked to a particular brand. So stupid, man. I mean, like, who was the female in there that got replaced?
It was Martinez, wasn't it? Mercedes Martinez.
Yeah, yeah. And it was like, she obviously knew that this was such a dumb idea and obviously just avoided it completely. Yeah, Retribution is so stupid. Oh, we hate WWE and we hate everything they stand for. Let's cut up the rings with chainsaws. Oh, you want to give us contracts for $300,000 a year? Yeah, we'll sign that. No problems. Doesn't make sense. So stupid. And then they get stupid names like T-Bar, Slapjack. I can't even remember the other ones. Slapjack was enough for me. Do you know what I mean?
Mace. Yeah. It was not good, unfortunately. And just to give a shout out to Dungeon Doom as well, losing advantage of 6-on-2 in a steel cage match at Uncensored 96. So against Hogan and Savage. So yeah, that just shows that they've very well. But PS says, I feel like Cody should have a better long storyline since he's finished the story ending with Roman Reigns' legendary title reign at WrestleMania, and I really want The Rock versus Cody Rhodes for the Undisputed WWE Championship at SummerSlam this year. That's a match I would like to see at SummerSlam as well. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, as we said, we think Cody will eventually get those stories. I think the problem is, and this could be something else that could be an issue here, WWE only have like 3 weeks between each PLE at the minute, so they don't have long to book a new rivalry. If Cody's facing someone each and every time, they've got to tell a story on 3 episodes of TV. That's it, 3 episodes of SmackDown to get the story over. There's enough time to get this story over, but it's not perhaps enough time if you want to build something major and have this long direction. But you would hope, it feels like the Bloodline have this long-term direction. You'd hope Cody would have that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a few storylines in there that have long-term direction. I think the Chad Gable storyline is one of the other ones that seems to have a long build to it. But yeah, this is what I mean. It's kind of like we're in that weird phase that wrestling is the key aspect. We're trying to establish stories, but having premium, having pay-per-views every 3 weeks really doesn't help, and you're booked into a situation where you're like, well, okay, say we want to book for 6 weeks in advance here, but what do we do for the next 3 weeks? And you're trying to run coherently side by side 2 stories for one character, and it's just not going to work.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. They need to step the game up, to be fair. A bit asked as well, All In. We were both there last year. You mean you and X Steve?
We were.
Was the merchandise bad? Because I hear some over YouTube say that AEW merchandise is bad. I have more AEW merchandise than I do WWE. I thought that
it's pretty much the same stuff as what you would get at a WWE show. It's the same quality of t-shirts. They had the world title up there. It was like £800 on sale at the day. I think the other thing I bought was a key ring kind of lanyard thing for my door keys, but I don't think it's too bad. It's just pretty much the same as what you get at any wrestling event, really.
I got the was here t-shirt that they
Yeah,
had.
was here t-shirt.
Yeah, that was just as standard as what you get at a WWE show. And they did a football jersey, like the Fulham football shirt, which was like a black and gold, and like the basic AEW colors they did. It had sort of a bit of a Fulham style theme around it. And I thought it was really, really cool. I would have happily got their merchandise, to be fair. And like I said, I've got a couple of other AEW t-shirts as well. I don't think it's that bad. Other YouTubers may say so, but I'm a bit biased.
Some stuff is probably overpriced. Like,
yeah,
I think even like the simplest things, like the programs are always overpriced anyway. But like, I think the reason why I picked the key ring was because it was like it was a $5, and it's a key ring, and I kind of like, okay, it's overpriced for a key ring, but dude, any concert you go to, any live event you go to, even the simplest of merchandise is overpriced. I mean, it's the same as buying food or drink in these shows. It's all overpriced. You kind of it kind of comes like part of the parcel. Do you know what I mean? It's you expect these prices, but no, I'd say I had no problems with any of the quality of the stuff.
Absolutely. I would have to agree with that, by the way. Just in the last week, I've been to, for those that are aware of on the European side, I've been to 2 of the Eurovision shows they've done here in Sweden last week.
Nilpois.
And Nilpois for the UK. To buy a hoodie was the equivalent of probably €65. So probably around about £60. So probably around, I don't know, dollars. It's probably around about $70. And that's just for a hoodie. So yeah,
my missus goes to. She's been to a couple of Harry Styles' gigs, and he charges like £65 for a hoodie, £30 for a t-shirt. It's the expected prices.
That's how it is, unfortunately, with these things. So yeah, a lot of things I would say are overpriced. Right, we're going to shoot as quick as we can through the remaining questions. Thank you, everyone, today. See if we can get through these in 10 minutes. Do you think Jey Uso should win Money in the Bank? It'll be a huge moment for him. I'm going to say no. I understand the idea of main event Jey Uso, and main event Jey Uso should win something, but I'm going to say no. I think this should be someone else's moment.
Yep, any Canadian, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens for me.
I feel kind of the same boat with that one. I think Jey Uso at the moment could be a good way to get him over the SmackDown, though. If you need to find a way to get him to SmackDown, that could be a way to do so. So that would be one way it could work. PS says, I don't care about having a man or women wrestlers with a crown on the head and call them king, queen. No one cares about that. Just give them a title opportunity. And I've seen a couple of people as well suggesting Temple saying as well the idea of it should just have the title included. Do you think that it should have a title shot at the end of it? Is that the best way to go? I'm not a fan of the gimmicks either afterwards.
The gimmick works if it's on the right person. Like if you had Chelsea Green win Queen of the Ring, perfect person to win Queen of the Ring for the gimmick. But yeah, they definitely need to have something like a title stipulation. Otherwise, it's kind of like, I suppose for Gunther, it just kind of establishes him more as a dominant wrestler. I mean, like, hell, I wouldn't be against Gunther for picking up that crown and absolutely destroying it and just be like, I don't need to prove a crown to prove how good I am in the ring.
And I hope we get something like that. I think it'd be a great promo afterwards because we know these King of the Rings are famous for saying the words Austin 316 said I just whooped your ass. That is coming from King of the Ring, nostalgia for everybody. Do you know what I mean? So I'm with that 100%. I'd love to see something like that go down personally. I want to see these people just continue just have the accolade rather than actually the gimmick as well. Io is one of the best women's wrestlers in the world, says Pierre. 100% agree. I think in my opinion, I think she's the best.
She's up there. I don't think she's my number one. I think I could probably name about 2 or 3 I would rate higher.
Maybe Bianca Belair is probably the only one I'd probably rate higher myself personally.
Yeah, it's a good shout.
Maybe. I think we will want Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton for the title one day. Certainly do indeed. For me, WrestleMania 41.
needs to happen. Just needs the right character story in place for that to work for me.
Yeah, it needs the right story, needs the right build, needs the right amount of time, needs a Randy Orton heel turn.
Ted DiBiase Jr. ain't coming back. Put it that way.
Yeah, that's not happening. Yeah. We get 2/3 of legacy. As Meatloaf once said, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. PS says, I don't want Cody as a double champion, and I don't want to see Logan Paul lose his United States Championship. I need Logan versus LA Knight for that championship at SummerSlam. Yeah, agreed. I would like to see Logan Paul against LA Knight for that championship. Still invested in that idea.
Yeah, as far as I know, it's just for Cody's title. So Logan's going to lose. Do you know what I mean? That's what he's good at, is losing.
Absolutely, indeed. Here, Temple says Wyatt 6 should go after Roman Reigns, as Roman was the one to do for him. Wyatt, and that be ended up being historic 3-year title reign. It also involves Braun Strowman, so it would be perfect. I mean, in a way, it would be perfect. The only thing is, I think Roman's going to be tied up with this bloodline stuff, so I don't see where we find the time to do it now. The bloodlines moved a different direction. Otherwise, I completely agree. Because Roman as well being a heel, I don't see people booing the Wyatt 6, so I think they're going to be baby faces.
Yeah, I can see that as well. But again, that's why they need to put them above brand, because they need to be able to just go anywhere and interfere with any particular storyline that they want to be involved with. Like I said, if you limit them to a show, it kind of ruins them for the next year. So a bit, or that, well, not even split them into 3, but just literally have them on all 3 shows. Have them on NXT as well.
Interesting. I'm interested in that idea. We're really fun to see if that would play out. PS says, I think Jey Uso is someone really good and he's got a future. Do you think Jey Uso will win a singles championship? Yeet. I will say yeet. I think a mid-card title is the place for Jey Uso right now.
Yeah, I think that's probably where he currently stands, although he does have a massive following from the crowd. And we know how crowd backing has gone before with, a certain Daniel Bryan. So, if he keeps going the way he's going, you never know. Kofi Mania is the thing as well.
Absolutely.
Yeet Mania.
Yeet Mania. I like it. You put that on the t-shirt for sure, and it would sell probably overpriced as well. BS says, do you think former WWE superstar Elias should have deserved a better, like winning the Intercontinental Championship, Money in the Bank, or even the world title? I feel like Elias did everything to be a top star. Elias got over pretty well, a lot more over than what he did in his NXT days, obviously, and at one point was in around the conversation, I think, for being perhaps in the top 7 on the Raw brand in 2018, but it did fade away. For me, with Elias, I always felt that he could sell a great story on the mic with his songs, but I never was too invested in ring. But that's just me personally.
Yeah, he for me is kind of like a Miz / LA Knight, like great on the mic, but nothing special in the ring. Like don't get me wrong, they do obviously have certain things that are special to them, but it's nothing that makes them stand out and go, oh yeah, I could watch these guys wrestle for an hour. Do you know what I mean? But he's another one that had the potential because he had a great crowd following and great backing, and every time he got on a guitar and sung, like this, why he opened WrestleMania. It's why he opened the Royal Rumble. Do you know what I mean? He had something about him, and he probably deserved a hell of a lot better than what he got.
Absolutely, more than the 24/7 championship, anyway, which I think was his own main title he had in WWE. But Temple says, thanks for asking my question about AEW. P.S. Jack Perry's no longer the scapegoat; he's now just the coat. Still in Daniel Bryan's gimmick, clearly. Then, but he says, loving the heel work that Jack Perry's doing right now, using a real life thing and using a new character. Jack Perry is my 2024 best heel. Jack Perry is doing fantastic work in 2024 as a heel, and I've got to say that particularly in the last sort of month or so, he's really used everything to his advantage.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I've been kind of I've not checked out a lot of AEW in the last couple of weeks, so I've not seen too much. I mean, I saw his return. I've just honestly, because I'm like, it's on over Wednesday night and I have work Thursday, so I've just not been able to catch up with AEW in the last couple of weeks. I've not really seen too much, if I'm honest. So look, he's great in ring. His mic work for me was always the thing that he needed to work on most. Once he gets over that stage, I'm sure it'll work out all fine for him.
I think I'm going to say I think it's improving. I will say that from his return so far, from what I've seen, it looks to be improving. Eric says, I can't wait to see Jamie Hayter return. we can't either. That's going to be a good time indeed. Zane asked if we've any played of the new DLC on W2K24. We did answer this question earlier, Zane. We haven't at this stage, but certainly I'm interested to see how CM Punk will be in the game. Eric Douglas says, do we think Jay will win a solo title run? I think we answered that a few minutes ago. We reckon IC potentially could be the one. PS is here. I agree, Alex Steve, about Chelsea Green should have been in the tournament and winning it. I think King Booker is the best King of the Ring ever.
King Booker is a good example of how someone winning it and then making a thing out of it. Do you know, someone who you don't expect to take the gimmick and actually do something well with it is like Booker T is the best example.
Booker T was a fantastic King of the Ring, and certainly with the gimmick itself as well. I think Owen Hart did fantastic with the gimmick also.
Yep.
Trying to think through the King of the Rings very quickly in my head, but yeah, those are the ones that probably
Xavier Woods. It's Xavier Woods. That was all he ever wanted to do, and it lasted about 2 months before he stopped wearing the crown.
Yeah, they destroyed it, didn't they? On a SmackDown, I think there was. I was in the States when that happened. It was around Survivor Series that year that they did it. So yeah, we didn't get to keep it very long for him, sadly. But Zelina Vega did a good job with the Queen of the Ring, certainly when she had it.
She did.
Reigns in the house, Ray. Hope we do most. Is in a very good mood tonight. Man United finally won a match tonight, which is bad news because that means West Ham can't overtake you in the league before the end of the season. Not that we would do that anyway. We're playing Man City on the last game of the season. I don't see us winning that one. But for NXT,
draw would be nice.
Yeah, we'll take the draw for Deck. All for Deck. Temple says they should have had Jey Uso win a mid-card title with the whole Jimmy being jealous and forced it to be with Roman, leading to the Uso split from the bloodline, just how I would have booked Jey. Totally can see that point of view. I think the problem he had was Gunther was the champion and he was the longest reigning IC champion. So I think that's the problem why Jey couldn't win the IC title earlier.
Did Jimmy get drafted, by the way? I don't actually remember seeing his name.
No draft.
I would be expected. I would possibly see a point where Jimmy's going to help Jey win a singles title. Potentially.
What I love is they've already interacted with Jey Uso and the Bloodline on one PLE, and it's been brought up on TV as well. I like the fact that PLEs is the way you can build this. So you can even have Jimmy on Raw at the moment. Just have to return to SmackDown and go to Jey on Raw. But I do think they all will eventually end up on SmackDown. But it's going to be interesting to see how it's all going to play out, as we've done many times on previous videos. It's an exciting storyline. How are we going to book that one? Who is your favorite male and female wrestler, Steve?
I think if you're talking about in ring at the minute, I mean, dude, Will Ospreay just knocks out of the ring every day. Do you know what I mean? Knocks out of the park every single day. So it's hard not to say Will Ospreay when it comes to a wrestling point. If you're talking about character-wise, I don't know. It's kind of hard with the character at the minute because everyone's kind of in a refresh state. But as for women, best in-ring women's wrestler, I'm trying to think of someone who isn't injured. So obviously Rhea's out at the minute, so I'm trying to be generous and think of someone else. Do you know what? I'm going to say Toni Storm. She still wants to kick the shit out of Wendy Richter, so for me, that's good enough.
It's a good answer indeed there. Look, Will Ospreay is the right answer for favorite male one for me as well, but so I will say him for AEW. For WWE, Gunther. I am investing in every Gunther match going on right now. AJ Styles War, but yeah, Gunther's awesome. I did say Io Sky earlier on, but as I said, I think Bianca Belair just might top on the female side of things, and the rest I just think she's so consistent with what she does, but Io is not far behind, so there'll be the two. If I had to pick one from AEW, I think at the moment a favorite for me would be probably Willow Nightingale. I really enjoy her work. Not everything is flawless, but I think she's doing good stuff at the minute. Her stock is raising, and I'm looking forward to the match with Mercedes Moné. I know not many people are, but I'm quite looking forward to it. Roger says, "Are you going to any PLE in 2024?" Not currently.
No, because WWE like to screw you over when they do pay-per-views in the UK, and you have to buy a ticket for SmackDown and the pay-per-view, and it makes them doubly expensive. So no, I'm not currently going to one this year.
And even if they did, they're still very expensive to begin with. Just a ticket to one of the shows is like, and the cheap seats is like over £300. So it's
yes.
expensive. For me, that also involves flights, accommodation, hotel, food, drink. So no, thank you. Eric says, do you think Enzo could have been someone like LA Knight or Logan Paul? No, not for me. I was mostly invested in Enzo in NXT. As a tag team. The second that went, no, I just
his cruiserweight title run, which was just him essentially like just verbally destroying people, then getting in the ring and being destroyed by people in the ring. So, yeah, I think like I think for me, I'm the same. When he made his Raw debut with Big Cass, I was really hoping they'd win the tag team titles one day. It just never happened.
Yeah, it never did. Was you a fan of Elias' brother Ezekiel? For the first couple of weeks, yes, and then it got boring, and then thankfully KO killed it off.
When it got part, now do you know what? I think KO made me like Ezekiel a lot more because I said when he initially came out and he had that clean shaven face, and I'm like, oh my god, is that Elias? And I was almost kind of like, well, this is just embarrassing that they've rebranded him like this. But then Kevin Owens really saved the character for me.
Absolutely. Tell we have a good shout here. It says Final Testament with the Wyatt 6 versus the Pride. Obviously, we could have got Lashley versus Bray, that ribbon match of WrestleMania, so it makes sense. That would make sense. I wouldn't be against the idea of Wyatt 6 versus the Pride, although I don't see the Final Testament joining Wyatt 6, sadly. It would actually mean that they'd have to break the draft rules, which WWE never does, if they were going to do that. Who knows? Roger says, loves playing as CM Punk, the best of the world on W2K24. Eric, I think we'll be waiting a very long time for Wendy Richter versus Tony Storm. I don't think it's ever going to happen, my friend. I don't think it's ever going to happen. Temple says, Jack Perry was at the New Japan show in Chicago, was getting cheered. He was wearing a Chicago-themed flag with a Beethoven film. It was class. It really was. I've seen the highlights of that. It certainly was a lot of fun. Roger Reyes says that Tiffany Stratton, his favorite. She's an awesome wrestler. She really is indeed. Pierre says, by the way, don't miss on Twitch for 4 p.m. hours of the United States and Canada. Something concerning Uncle Howdy and Wyatt 6 is going to happen. Interesting.
It's true. Yeah, it was one of the teasers.
We'll keep an eye out for that. And Sid says, are you watching Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk boxing on Saturday? Probably not. Probably not. Probably we'll find some highlights or something. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be a kind enough time for me to watch this.
I'll find the TikTok highlights the next day.
Yeah, I think so as well. I would be interested in it, but I don't think I'm going to have the opportunity to watch it. So it's going to be a no from me. And only one can own the throne, says Don Mills, obviously referring to King and Queen of the Ring, which we'll be giving our predictions next Tuesday on this channel, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for watching. It's been great to have you on board. Our retro review as well, which you voted for, going to be King of the Ring 1993, will also be next week. Me and NXT are going to sort out the details in a couple of seconds offline. But so thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, share with a friend, and subscribe as well. NXT, thank you for being a part of this as always.
Always a pleasure.
Look after yourselves. Take care. Thanks for watching. And if you want to see more videos on the channel, then check out right now. There's a few shorts in there, a few videos as well. Some fun stuff to look forward to. And like I say, King of the Ring will be with the retro be on next week. We'll do King and Queen of the Ring predictions next week, and also you'll get AEW Double or Nothing predictions. So plenty of stuff coming up on the channel in the next few days or so. So keep an eye out here. Thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you next time.